everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 9a and compare it against the Google Pixel 8a and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, the biggest thing I can tell you is that both of these phones are still very, very good. They're still very nice looking phones and I genuinely do like them. Like if you're going to go through and really pick up any sort of device, these ones are still very good looking phones. They still have a lot of capability and you can't really go wrong with either one. But there might be some advantages with picking up one phone over the other. Clearly the 9A is going to be the better one, but the 8A has the chance of becoming a way better value because that is a significantly cheaper phone when it kind of comes down to it. So let's go and see how both these phones kind of compare. If you want to pick up either one of these phones though, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular phones. With the Pixel 8a, this phone came out just last year, so it did not come out that long ago at all, so it's not really that old of a phone. And this phone was basically going through, and it was giving you a really decent 6.1-inch OLED display. Now, this type of panel, this type of display for the most part, does look pretty good for the most part, right? It doesn't really look that bad. It's a good looking type of display. It's more or less what you'd kind of expect. And I do think it's a nice looking display. It gives you 120 Hz and 2000 nits of brightness. That is actually a pretty decent type of layout to have right inside of a device. So personally for me, I do think that is a really nice thing going on for this type of phone. And if you are going to go through and pick up a device, that is in and of itself a nice thing going on. With something like the Google Pixel 9a, this phone does give you a POLED display. So it's 1080p, it is a POLED display, which is better than something like a, Pixel 8a's OLED display. But this time, it's not only just giving you 2000 nits of brightness, it's giving you 2700 nits of brightness. That is not only a bigger size panel, it's also giving you less bezel slightly, and it's giving you a very bright display. That is a very, very bright panel, and it's probably way brighter than you're ever going to use, but that is a very nice thing to have in and of itself. Like that right there is going to future-proof yourself for a long time because it's going to make you feel like you have a very good, very powerful phone for the most part, and it's going to hold up very well when it comes down to that side. So I, for one, I'm a massive fan of that type of phone for holding up in that way, and I do think that is a really nice thing going on for this type of phone when it comes down to it. From that particular perspective. They're both giving you USB Type-C ports on the bottom. The sides are relatively kind of the same, although the Pixel 8a is kind of more curved. On the back side though, this is a very interesting thing. The Google Pixel 8a and the Google Pixel 9a both have plastic backs. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. Both these phones at the end of the day are giving you these plastic backs, which I'm perfectly fine with. I don't really think it's too big of an issue or too big of a deal. And you're going to have a good time with this type of phone from that particular side too, which I think is cool. But it is weird because they both don't really feel too plasticky, but they are. So just keep that in mind. One big thing to keep in mind here though, is that when it does kind of come down to both these phones, you are essentially still getting very good build qualities on both. They both feel fairly good. You're both getting IP certification on both. They're both giving you wireless charging as well, which is another really cool thing. So there's still a lot of advantages for using both these phones, but I think the Pixel 9a is probably the one that is the better looking one for the most part here. The price tag though, the Pixel 8a right now is about $259 on Amazon. The Google Pixel 9a is about $499. So that right there is also a really big difference. The Pixel 9a has the higher likelihood of giving you a better experience when it comes down to that side than the Pixel 8a. So that right there is going to be another very important thing to keep in mind there from that particular perspective. When it comes down to the cameras, this is also another very important thing to keep in mind here too. The Pixel 8a is going to be giving you this dual camera setup on the back, a 64 megapixel wide angle camera, and then a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera. Weirdly enough though, the Pixel 9a has a lower megapixel count 48 megapixel wide angle camera, but the same 13 megapixel ultra wide camera. So that right there is going to be a very interesting thing to keep in mind here within this type of device. Like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that right there I think is going to be a very, very interesting thing to keep in mind here, because that type of device gives you a better structure overall, than the Pixel, 8a. Both are giving you 4K at 60. They're also giving you 4K at 30 on the front. I wish it was giving you 4K at 60 on the front, but it is what it is. 13 megapixel cameras on the front side. And I do think this in and of itself, it is kind of a nice thing to kind of keep in mind here, just that in and of itself. Like both these phones give you a really good perspective when it comes down to those things. And I do think that in and of itself is a really cool thing to kind of keep in mind here. Definitely not the biggest deal in the world, but I do think this in and of itself is a really, really nice thing. And I do think it's, they're both good cameras, but I do think the Pixel 9a probably gives you the better experience. But the Pixel 8a is still a very good camera when it comes down to it from that side as well. Now, when it comes down to software longevity, this is where the Pixel 9a is probably going to have more of an edge here. Quite, it's kind of obvious. The Pixel 9a is basically giving you a phone that's essentially going to be giving you this, really good type of experience, right? It's going to be giving you, long software support up to 7 major versions of Android. The Pixel 8a is also giving you 7 major versions of Android, but the Pixel 8a is the last generation of software. The Pixel 9a is the current generation. So with that being said, you are going to have a higher likelihood here of something like the Google Pixel 9a basically lasting for a longer period of time. Both these phones are still going to be good. There's not too much to complain about here for the most part, but the Pixel 9a is going to be the one that's going to be lasting longer. When it comes down to the battery life and the battery sizes, the Pixel 8a is giving you a 4,492 mAh battery. The Pixel 9a is giving you a 5,100 mAh battery. So this right here is also going to be another very important thing to keep in mind here too, because if you're wanting the phone that's going to be giving you a better experience, it probably, once again, is going to be something like a Google Pixel 9a. This one is going to be giving you a significantly better styling of battery than something like the Pixel 8a. But even when it comes down to its chipset, this is also going to be another very important thing to keep in mind here. The Pixel 8a is giving you that Google Tensor G3 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM. The Pixel 9a is giving you that Google Tensor G4 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM. So this is another one of those very important things to keep in mind here too. Because once again, if you're wanting the phone that is going to be giving you the overall better experience here, once again, it's pretty much going to be the Pixel 8a. Sorry, the Pixel 9a. The 8a is still going to be very fast, but the Pixel 9a is going to be the faster one here without a doubt. This one's going to be the faster phone. It's going to be giving you better capability, better power, better everything across the board. And that's the one that I would look at as being the overall better one here in almost every single way. So that's kind of what's going on here, right? The Pixel 9a is a way better phone in almost every single angle I can probably kind of think about. This phone's going to be giving you, a faster experience, better display, better battery life, better everything across the board. That is kind of the phone that I would look at as constantly and consistently being the better device in almost every single way I can imagine. And there's not too many other ways that I can think about to myself where I'm like, hey, the Pixel 8a is way better, but there are a few things to keep in mind here. The Google Pixel 8a is one of those types of phones that will consistently still be a really good phone for the value and for the price tag. Like I look at the Google Pixel 8a and I still think that's a really good, very powerful phone for a majority of things that you're going to throw at here. Like that phone is still giving you a very fast phone. It still looks great. And I think that's still a really good phone for the value. But I do think if you are going to go and pick up a specific phone, if you have all the money in the world, the 9a is the better one. Or you can also buy a used Google Pixel 9 or a used Google Pixel 8 or a used Pixel 8 Pro and still get a really good experience from that type of phone too. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, till then.